I'm Scott Al Miller. It is the 3rd of November 2022, and this is my vlog of daily life in León, Nicaragua. Yesterday we filmed in Ciudad Sandino. Today I'm filming back in León, just here at the studio, which is not going to be the studio for much longer if all goes well, and it's actually starting to drizzle on me right now. And I was really careful about checking the weather reports today, or the forecast, I mean, and it said we were not going to get any rain except for maybe a 20% chance at 8 p.m. It is clearly not 8 p.m. and it's raining on me, and I'm pretty sure I've heard rain at other times of the day as well. So it's so unreliable I don't even know why I look. So today is Thursday, and today's kind of our day in between things. And we started the day thinking we might go see another house today, or go see one again that we're interested in, but it's last minute, so we're asking to see it tomorrow. We're hoping to make a decision. We're going to take the kids so they can give their approval on a walkthrough, but we're pretty sure it's going to work for them. They're actually pretty easygoing about houses. They don't like moving, but as long as they can get the space that they need. The one thing that they really want is a Jack and Jill with enough space for them to do all their projects and stuff. Luciana likes to do sculpting and painting, and they both like to play video games, and there's a lot of stuff like that it would just be nice if we had the space to accommodate. So we're hoping that this works out for them, and most importantly, room for the dog. So that's coming up. We have declined the house in Fatima because those people are just corrupt and we don't want to have anything to do with them. We don't know what the deal is going to be, but I would certainly be cautious renting from someone who interacts the way that they did. Certainly the seller's agent we will never speak to again under any circumstances, but even the renter of the house, we wouldn't trust him being our landlord, so we're not interested whatsoever, even if they were to come back at this point, which we don't expect them to. So that started off our day. I was going to have a lot of meetings today, but one of our employees had to call out sick because she had food poisoning or something of the nature. And honestly, I'm feeling a little bit weird too, so I think more likely something's going around. I don't feel badly, but was in the bathroom a little bit more than usual today. And just to say, so not terrible, nothing to write home about. Technically, I am writing home. This is me writing home to my dad, but only minorly under the weather, not like severely sick. She ended up at the hospital though, so it varies if that's the same thing, but it's pretty coincidental that it's so close in time. Today, we thought we were just going to be home all day, but we ended up with a lot of meetings. So everybody went out. Well, Paul and Dominica and staff went out to the beach for important meetings this afternoon. So I stayed home to hold down the fort and had a number of meetings at work. Everything went well. It was a good day overall, mostly pretty quiet. They brought back food from the beach for dinner, which is nice. The big thing that happened today, though, sort of, is that we got offered at the last second when we've had a call out for a month or so saying we want to get our kids vaccinated. And I want to talk about this real quickly, why we're specifically concerned about getting our kids vaccinated, because they're at very low risk for COVID. They've not gotten COVID after all this time. And taking relatively reasonable precautions, right? We don't wear masks unless required. They wash their hands regularly, that kind of thing. They're not being stupid about it, but that's about it. There's no specific precautions being taken. Now, all the adults have been vaccinated since day one. We pretty much got them the moment that they let us, and we keep getting boosters for that. So we're not too likely to be high risk carriers for the kids, but it would be nice to keep the kids safe too. Now, we're only willing to get them Pfizer for a number of reasons. One, it's known to have the lowest impact, and two, it's the only one that's really universally been cleared for children. There's enough at this point research and evidence that says it's definitely good to get for the kids. But it's not really for COVID that we're getting it, it's actually for travel. So here's the bigger issue. We have to travel quite a bit, whether it's going to Costa Rica just as a border run, or needing to go to the United States to see family, or actually just traveling, going places like Mexico or Europe to travel. And in nearly all those places, not all, but nearly all, it requires that we have either vaccination records or we get COVID tested. The problem with COVID testing is twofold. One is it is outrageously expensive. It's threefold. Outrageously expensive. In the United States, it's impossible to find, and in all cases, the kids really, really hate it. They dread it days ahead of time. Like this is a major impact to their lives kind of hate it. Not like, Dominica finds it to be an uncomfortable inconvenience, and she would like to not have to do it, but she doesn't worry about it the day before or even the hour before, and simply goes and gets a test and goes, I hate that. right? But Liesl and Luciana are actually worrying about it days ahead of time, and it ruins their days, and they have, a horrible day when it happens, and they just dread it, and it's a huge thing. So for them, they're actually legitimately excited to be able to get the shot and get it over with and just be able to carry that paper. Plus, they'll be safer from a COVID perspective. So it's a win-win in that way. It's going to save us a lot of money and a lot of time. It's going to make going back to the United States especially so much easier. Now, we tend to fly through Costa Rica. Costa Rica does not require anything at all. No masks, no shots, no proof, nothing as far as I know. But when we leave Costa Rica to go to the United States, they require some stuff. When we return from the United States to come back to Nicaragua, they require some stuff. It's only Costa Rica in the middle that doesn't really change much for us. It does make it slightly more convenient, but in general, it doesn't change anything really. So it just is really practical for us. But we found out that they were able to get them by like 7 o'clock tonight, but we found out while Paul and Dominica were in the meeting, they would have to run back from the beach, cancel the meeting, throw the kids in the car with no preparation, and run to Managua as fast as they could and maybe make it. There was no way. So we said, we really can't do this. It's not really plausible. Is there some way we can get on the list and get called a little bit earlier? And they said, yeah, we'll see what we can do. And then they came back later at night and said, there's actually first thing in the morning, shots available. Do you want to do it? And we're like, yes, we'll do whatever it takes to get there first thing in the morning. So we were all going to go, because I was going to go to Managua tomorrow anyway. And we just planned that we were all going to go and get the shots for the kids, and we'll go shopping and do a bunch of stuff, and I'll get dropped off and they'll come back and whatever. At the last minute, late tonight, Dominica goes, oh my gosh, the dogs, no one's going to be able to stay with the dogs. You can't go. You're going to have to travel separately. I'm like, but I do have a ton of work to do for you guys for the show, because I am crazy behind. So it isn't the worst thing in the world. What I did do, though, tonight is I worked really late, really focused on the show, and I have enough caught up that it's not a problem. I could travel in the morning, but I'm going to be able to work tomorrow and get nice and comfortably caught up, so it's not a problem at all, because I'm going to be going all weekend and I'm going to lose my catch-up time while I travel. So need to just, it's good that I'm getting stuff done. Everyone needs me in the office. There's a lot of things going on. We're dealing with a hurricane in Belize. We have customers there. We have to work around that. We have quite a few customers having major issues this weekend, whether it's weather or just technology or whatever. A major one had simply a bad update come from one of their vendors, and that's causing problems that we have to deal with as well. Those kinds of things. So it's a busy day, and we've been short people in the office, so I'm covering a lot there. It adds up. It's probably best that I'm not going in the morning, but I would have liked to have gone. That would have been nice. So they're going to go. So tonight, everyone's trying to go to bed early because they've got to be up around 6 to be on the road by 7, because they have to be in a clinic in Managua before 9 in the morning. That's not impossible, and thank goodness we have a car and everyone can just pile in the car and go, but it is going to be quite a hectic morning. And then they'll do stuff around Managua all day tomorrow, but they can't stay for any length of time. They're just going to shop and run back, because at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, we are going to look at the Sutiava house again and hopefully make a decision tomorrow. We are ready to make a decision. We want to make a decision, and so that is the plan for tomorrow. So really nothing exciting to discuss today, just that's kind of the status of things. And now, in just a second, we're going to do the throwback, go back and look at where we were 3 years ago, because this is actually a pretty interesting one. 3 years ago today, it's our first day of Rachel and Alan and I getting a day in Nicaragua. We arrived 3 years ago last night. Today is the day when we actually got up in the sun, got to see Nicaragua for the first time in daylight in a very long time. First time for them, first time in many years for me. And that's going to be an interesting episode to discuss. So first, please remember to like and subscribe. Comments below, ask your questions about vaccines, travel requirements, all that kind of stuff. I cover a lot of bases on here, business and all those kinds of things, real estate, blah, blah, blah. And if you would like to support the channel directly, you can buy me a coffee. Right now, we've been demonetized by Google, not because we did anything wrong, just because it's sometimes when you're early to those things, you go on and off of monetization as they verify who you are and make you fill out paperwork and those kinds of things. Doing that right now. So we're not making a penny from Google, which is fine. It's not like breaking the bank or anything, but buying me a coffee is the absolute only way to sponsor the show in any way whatsoever right now. Obviously, tell friends, share on social media, get the word out there. Let's keep the channel growing. I love where we're going. Thank you so much for all the support you guys have been showing. And there has been so much coffee flowing in. It's great. I'm wide awake to do the show now. It's wonderful. And I actually have to go watch the episode, regroup my thoughts, and then we're going to hit the throwback and take it from there. All right, it's time for the throwback. Now, we arrived late last night. This morning, Rachel and I were actually up surprisingly early. It was probably about 8 o'clock. We were just excited to get up and get going, so we only had a few hours of sleep. Alan got up shortly after us. The three of us went down to the Barrio Cafe, which we're in the Barrio Cafe hotel, so the hotel kind of surrounds the cafe. You just come down, and the breakfast area of the hotel is actually the cafe. It's all gone now. It's now Ical, but it's still a restaurant there in the center of San Juan del Sur. And the Barrio Cafe, just like it is still here in Managua, well, not here, but in Managua, is a high-end kind of brunch place. So really eclectic menu, salmon and lots of, eggs Benedict and stuff like that, and really good sandwich selection and just really good food overall. So we were pretty excited. We came down, looked at the menu and stuff. We're like, oh my gosh, this is like really nice. So we're pretty excited about that. We got a really good breakfast, but we just did the included breakfast this morning. So that's not too exotic. That was we wanted to keep it toned down. It was delicious, amazing food. So we started off with this great day of food. Unfortunately, this kind of set the tone for the trip. We were sitting there doing our breakfast, doing our stuff, and Teeny came out of the hotel room while we were there. So she slept longer, walked out, hit the wall of hot, humid air. Now, keep in mind, it was only the mid-80s all week, but legitimately, it was super high humidity, and we were coming from quite cold. This is the early November. Rachel and I are coming from Texas, so Texas is really mild. Utah is chilly, and now it's in the mid-80s, super high humidity right off the Pacific Ocean. She walked out the door and just went, nope, and walked right back in and went back and took a nap or something. That was it. That was her introduction to the morning in Nicaragua. Now, this kind of set off two things. One, just the general mood of three of us were having a great time and loving where we were, and one person was incredibly unhappy with the entire scenario. The other thing that this kicked off was three of us were ready to get up and do things late at night and early in the morning, and understood that the nature of living in the tropics is that typically you give the afternoon, the mid-afternoon, a pass. Simply the lifestyle. That is when it is hottest. That's when the sun is brightest. There is no reason to be out doing things. Lots of businesses close. Lots of people go take a break. Those that can't, they slow down. Like, it's just not, everyone knows this is not the best time of day. And because she decided she was going to push off doing things in the morning, that meant by the time she finally got up and was ready to start doing things, the day was that much hotter. So she was kind of intentionally, we did explain it, and at that point, she became intentionally avoiding the cooler parts of the day and very intentionally choosing just to try to do things at the hottest part of the day. A little bit later, probably about 10 or 11, when it was very warm, very humid, and very bright out, she finally emerged, and we went out and did some quick exploring around the town. Walked down to the waterfront, of course, had to start down on the beach, walked a ways on the beach. Unfortunately, in the first few minutes that we were out there, we went past the artist pavilion, that's what it's called, and a dog was hit by a car right in front of us. In all the time we've been here, since then, I have only seen one other dog get hit in all this time, which is still, dogs get hit in Nicaragua more often than in the US. There are so many more dogs, it's crazy how many dogs live on the street, and unfortunately, dogs getting hit is a reality of life everywhere, and here it is, in the United States, we're so used to going years without seeing it, and here, if I can go a year without seeing it, I'm lucky. But we saw one get hit right in front of us, inches away. Now, luckily, he bounced off the car and ran away, so hopefully he's okay. We like to believe so. But you see dogs all the time who are at least banged up and bruised from cars, if nothing else. Cars do move really slowly, and people do make a big effort to get away from the dogs. And the dogs here are really smart in general and rarely get hit. You watch my channel, just constantly but they're okay. I have dogs. I live on a very busy street, and it is full of dogs, and those dogs just cross back and forth every few minutes all day long, and they're fine. So, okay. Anyway, so that was not good for boating for the day either. We walked around for a while, did some exploring. We did end up at an artist pavilion, not the artist pavilion that I just mentioned. We ended up at an art shop, let's say that. And while we were there, I stopped in and actually bought some paintings for Dominica, which are actually here in Nicaragua with us now. They managed to go to the U.S. and make it back down. So I bought some paintings for her. We did some shopping. That helped a little bit this afternoon. And then finally, we went around. She really wanted to find a restaurant that was air conditioned. And we tried to explain that that's not a thing. There wasn't any. Rachel and I had been everywhere in town. We knew everything was open air. That's how it works. That's why you don't want to try to eat at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Everything's open air. That's really hot. You want to do open air in the morning, open air at night. kind of early lunch, 11:30, not so bad. But at this point, it's like 2:30. It's hot, 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 hot. So finally, we ended up on the beach, which isn't as bad. Ate at one of the big restaurants down there on the south side of the beach and had a nice lunch. It's extra difficult because Tini has a very tiny palate and only likes really, really basic food. So the options that are available in Nicaragua generally don't appeal to her, and the things that she's looking for, that she's hoping to find, mostly don't exist. So while there's things she will eat, it's very limited and repetitive and not very exciting. So the food, which is generally a really big bonus for the rest of us, was nothing special for her. Today was a pretty rough day trying to figure out what to do for her. But that was our first day. Rachel and Alan and I are having a great time being on the ocean, great time exploring the food, grabbing the beer, getting the snacks, walking around, trying to avoid the heat. It's much hotter for us than we meant it to be because Tini's forcing us to do things and go on death marches looking for air conditioning that everyone knows doesn't exist. So the amount that we feel she's intentionally making it bad, refusing to go to the coolest places at the coolest time, intentionally acting like there should be air conditioning when obviously there is not, and just forcing a situation that creates the heat that she then complains about, is she's really trying to ruin it for everybody. That was very obvious at the time, and she was very grumpy about the whole thing and really should have just stayed in the hotel room and given up, but came along and really, sometimes she would be like, we're going to do this, and sometimes she would be like, I'm just ruining this for everybody, and that part was very frustrating. But it was a good first day here in San Juan del Sur, and it's neat to get to do the throwback. Now, the throwback I recorded only early in the morning. I didn't do any of the later stuff. There's nothing for the week. We are so busy, and it was so hot, and just Rachel and I were like, even when Alan and Tini were done, Rachel and I were just going and doing stuff nonstop the entire time we were here. So I actually didn't get anything recorded. And a lot of times I kept saving stuff because I was like, Rachel's going to record with me, we're going to have some content, and then she never was willing to be on camera. And so I ended up just getting backlogged and losing it all from a recording standpoint. So I'm going to have to now go back and recreate as best I can to try to explain what happened on our trip. But that was it. Like and subscribe, do all that stuff. I will see all of you tomorrow.